and now as I'm thinking about it, I understand a little bit like why these CEO guys jump out of the windows and all of this different kind of.
This is not an interview. There is no format. This is simply a conversation about life.
Have you ever been self-employed or owned a business or anything like this?
No, and for no good reason, because I don't know. I think it's like an appealing idea for a lot of people, but I haven't done it. No, I've always been employed by somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, for better or worse, I guess.
Do you have a or would you prefer like to work for yourself or to not have any kind of job at all? Like,
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess like not having a job at all would be great as long as,
mm,
you have a way to get by.
mm,
Um, I think not having a job, yeah, would be great as long as you're working on something that, uh, brings you joy, right? And that
mm,
like you're passionate about um, and yeah, you have a means of surviving.
mm,
Um, but I think the thing about running your own business or like, yeah, being your own employer is it comes with so much stress too. Because now you're the boss of everything.
yeah.
And so you have to worry about, making money, but also like scheduling yourself the right way. And
Yeah.
it just all falls on you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a boss and, you have coworkers, you can lean on them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I was actually talking to a friend of mine the maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I never even thought about this aspect. Like, she was telling me she was stressed out because she was worried about how she was going to pay everybody that was working for her.
Mm,
Like,
that's a legitimate concern.
yeah, I never thought about this. Like, there. I mean, I do understand it in a way, but I don't know if I've ever had like I've never had employees actually.
Yeah.
I've worked for myself. I've been a freelance musician and all of this stuff, and ran record labels or whatever. But I didn't. I only had partners. I never had an employee.
Yeah.
and and so it's interesting to think about that, like that stress level that comes along with your own business and or working completely for yourself, and you know what I mean, like it's a whole other thing.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, I have to imagine because I guess I can't really speak from firsthand experience, but yeah, I think that's such a big part of it. That's such a big source of stress for any
Mm-hmm.
business owner or entrepreneur is, yeah, how am I going to pay my people?
Mm-hmm.
Because now, now it's not just about you. Now you're actually responsible for, one or more people's livelihoods. And
Yeah.
I would melt down. I would freak out. And I did plenty of times in my last job, for example, just because I was responsible for sales. And so, what like the nice things that we could do, like hire more people and make everybody's lives easier, kind of came down to me because I was responsible for bringing in the cash. And that
Mm.
alone was stressful enough.
Mm.
That wasn't my business at all.
Wait, so you said you had to make sales, like you had to make sales to be able to fund the salaries of other people?
Well, it wasn't that dire, but I was effectively the only salesperson. And so I, yeah, it came down to me to, if we wanted to hire more staff or if we wanted to, buy something nice or new equipment or, just spend cash on things, people or resources, it basically came down to me because we had to generate the cash from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's either, it's usually from one of two places by cutting costs or by bringing in more money from
Mm-hmm.
existing clients or just making or winning new clients.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was I had to think about my job every day. Like I couldn't even clock out without without leaving my stress behind.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, that's just to comment on how stressful it must be for somebody who runs their own business, especially in the
Yeah.
early stages where you're figuring out how to manage people and money.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, it must be so stressful.
Yeah. And now as I'm thinking about it, I understand a little bit like why these CEO guys jump out of the windows and all of this different kind of stuff when you think about
Yeah,
the because you're not only are you responsible for the livelihood of other people, you're also answering to people above you. Like they
yeah.
it you get it from both angles, like yeah.
You're getting crushed from all sides. Absolutely. Yeah, you have to make the people above you happy. You
Yeah.
have to make the death of those below you as painless as possible.
Yeah.
You feel like crap no matter
Yeah.
what, because
Yeah.
if you did a good job, that feels horrible, and if you did a bad job, that feels horrible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's being a boss or a manager, anybody with that type of responsibility is but yeah, probably takes a year off your life every year, so you're living at twice
Damn.
the speed of everybody else. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, so this is because I was like talking. I know we talked earlier about the 7 streams of income and working for
Oh
yourself,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
this is like the big conversation I've been having a lot with people about working on your 7 streams because apparently this is what having 7 streams of passive income is like a sign or a trait or a qualification that
Mm,
most successful people, I don't know if it's most successful or most wealthy people have,
mm,
or one of those two or both.
yeah. Well, yeah, so that exists, and I don't know what if it's like most wealthy or most successful,
Mhm.
what the metric is, but it's seven seems like a dream to me. I think it's pretty hard to establish one. I think if you've
Mhm.
done one and it's alive and running, that's pretty
Mhm.
impressive as is. And then I've heard that, it's good, like another good, like baseline to achieve is to have one passive business and one active one. So you have your kind of anchor in the background running and you don't have to manage it too much. And the active
Mhm.
one is going to require more attention and time,
Mhm.
and so it's going to teeter at some point, and that's when you
Mhm.
can lean on your passive business. But you've
Mhm.
got kind of two income streams otherwise, or at least two lines of business to manage. Seven is a great. That seems overwhelming to me. I don't.
Well,
I
I mean, I think it depends on what the 7 are, because obviously there's lots of people who have like investments like stock and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and um, so if you consider this one, and then if you had this some real estate and I don't know, an art collection.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know either. Well, like, yeah, how do you define an income stream in this case, I guess? But you're totally right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be a stock portfolio and some real estate investments and yeah, probably an art collection because, hopefully at least some of those works go up in value over time. And yeah, so it doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't have to be like a standalone business. You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, but and I would even with the actor and now actually it makes me think about because now I'm just trying to figure out how to be happy with this, right? So if your active one could be something that you really love,
Yeah.
something that doesn't, because you enjoy it, it doesn't feel so much like work, then you could go there and, you know what I mean? You don't mind.
Oh no, well exactly. Yeah, if it's something you really love, then the pain and the uphill climb is all worth it, right?
Right,
Because you're having fun with it.
right,
Um, and that's a beautiful thing to achieve.
yeah,
That's pretty lucky. Yeah, if you get to work on something like that, um,
yeah,
and call your own shots. Um,
yeah,
yeah, and the passive side doesn't have to be as interesting. That's why, like, I guess it lends itself to being passive if it's something like a stock portfolio or a an affiliate marketing, you know, scheme or website or whatever.
mm-hmm.
I feel like those are popular. I don't know how to set one of those up. I would love to, but yeah, sometimes I just think about how to set up one income stream and I get overwhelmed and I go back to sleep.
Yeah. This is. I think there's a reason why there's like a 1%. And I think it's along these lines. Like there seems
Mm,
to be like people that thrive in that kind of, these natural born hustler type people. They
hmm.
they enjoy the thrill of setting something up and making it work and just I put this engine together, start it up, and then I just, you know what I mean? And then they
Yeah.
just do it over and over again, try to find these new deals and make these new things happen. And that stress probably doesn't affect them in exactly the same way that people like you and I mean I don't know, I have worked for myself, and so and I do have some passive streams, but like um I think this is a difference between those people who enjoy working on these kinds of things
Hmm.
and building things and creating things and setting them in motion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where and they don't mind the stress. You know what I mean? They relish in this thing. I gotta they get all pumped up. You know what I mean?
No, I think there's a lot to that. That's well noted, well said, because I think those two types of people, more than two types, definitely exist, and you will have an easier time if you process stress differently. And it's like attitude and outlook, mindset are definitely important. I think that you often see with those types of people, it's like they have a faster metabolism for stress, and
Mm,
so they can just run through walls, and
mm,
it's not going to impact them as much as it does
mm.
other people. That's so valuable, of course. And yeah, they can just fall, and they're not going to be any worse off. They're kind of just going to be more motivated to keep running.
Yeah.
And if that's your constitution, then you're probably going to succeed faster than a lot of other people.
Mm. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think those people are, to bring it back to the 1% thing. Like I think there's a really small portion of people who can do this and think in those terms. Some people, they see the opportunity or they see something that they can do and they just go for it, and they don't overthink it. They know what it is to, I guess they calculate the possibility of failure and how much it would set them back and all of this different kind of stuff. And you know what I mean? They take more risk and things like that. I think this is a really small percentage of people,
I
you
think you're
know?
right. Yeah, and I think there's like the classic 1% of wealthy people who are,
Mm,
because it's undeniably easier to start a successful venture and also recover if it fails along the way,
mm,
if you have cushion, if you've got
mm,
like capital to start out with. And
mm,
I think a lot of the time that's what makes a big difference is you have to be willing to risk a certain amount of resources,
Mm-hmm.
time, but usually money, in order to see success or just see results
Mm-hmm.
sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 1%, which is kind of more of what you're talking about right now, are those people who are fearless and unstoppable, and they just see the world in a slightly different way, where they see opportunities and they just chase after them. And they're kind of more in the camp of, move fast and break stuff, because that's how you're going to figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's good when you have. It's easier once you have some things going because that is what provides the cushion. So if you have the
Yeah.
combination of those two things, then you're like almost unstoppable. Like it's kind of hard to fail. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
completely. If you're in the middle of that Venn diagram, then yeah, you really are unstoppable. Then you're like a Taylor Swift or like a Kanye, where
mm-hmm,
it's like, yeah, you're just going to be at the top of the world really fast,
mm-hmm,
because you've achieved both. You're really hungry and you've got, the resources to, kind of make an impact right from the start.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.